Rich
middle is
Froning
hard.
figured this out before everybody else. And Rich Froning invented the EMOM.
Yep.
Definition training. There's no score.
Yep.
You are going to do 3 muscle-ups this minute, and you're going to do 3 heavy power cleans the next minute. And what he's doing is he's putting in the rest to lower the super high intensity so he can train to get better.
Got it. We are here because we know the outcomes in our lives are within our control. That taking absolute ownership of how we eat, sleep, train, think, and connect with each other is how we'll optimize our health and happiness. That chasing excellence is how we grab hold of what is possible. Our mission is to live on the run, always chasing, never stopping. Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Chasing Excellence Show. As always, I'm here with Ben. How are you, sir?
Good, Patrick.
It's the Chasing Excellence Show this week.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay, so today we have, I dove back into all of the listener questions we've been getting and tried to find a couple that were dealing with a subject that I felt like we could take a couple of them and jam them together and have a conversation about it. And the one today we're gonna do is roughly around the topic or the idea of performance anxiety. So we've got 3 or 4 questions that we're going to hit, and then we'll sort of see where the conversation goes from there. First one is going to be, I have an athlete that has amazing work ethic and consistently performs well in practice, but once he gets on the starting block where it counts during a swim meet or championship, he chokes every single time. What do you recommend I do to help build his confidence?
Okay. I'm going to make this one super tactical.
Okay.
Like not theoretical at all. So we could talk about confidence and mental toughness and focus and resilience and grit and all those things. Let's give
We did an episode on that.
We've probably done plenty of episodes on that. Let's go like super tactical.
I love that.
What we need to do in this situation where an athlete is essentially like they're awesome in training, but they fall apart in competition. What we need to do there is make training more like competition and make competition more like training.
Ooh, okay.
So what's happening is there's this big disparity. He's in the comfort zone. He's comfortable. He feels super confident because he's doing well.
He's in his good spot.
He's in his good spot. Then he gets in a strange, unknown environment where there's a lot more quote unquote pressure. What we need to do is make that more common. So let's say it is a swimmer.
Yep.
So I'm guessing that what happens is when the coach is like, okay, in practice, let's get on the blocks and let's see how fast you can do this 100. Ready, go. And the kid swims the 100 and comes back and he's okay, that was 20. Like that's we got him what we got. But when he gets on game day, that's not what happens. He's probably resting. He's probably doing a warm-up laps beforehand, resting a long time, going in the back, coming out to a lot of noise and excitement and stakes and expectations and unknown competitors and set benchmark and times he has to beat. We got to bring that to training. So I'm not saying all the time, but way more frequently than we are. You have to make this more of a norm. So what we need to do is have that experience. So what we need to do is in training, get the kid to go in the locker room after a warm-up session for 25 minutes and not be able to touch the pool. Then when he comes out, have like crazy loud music, bring his friends and family in to watch the training session. Basically dress rehearsals. When he does the training session, give him stakes. If you do not beat this time, have it be within a short percentage of his best, then there's a consequence. Either you need to make it fun, whatever it is. You need to, run around the building in your, bathing suit in the winter, or or it's a punishment thing where it's, you need to swim an extra 1,000, or like we've done this with Katrin. When we try to up the stakes, if I make her do extra work, she's psyched. So that doesn't work at all. What we do instead is everyone's going to watch you do this. If you can't get these X number of rope climbs done in this amount of time, everyone here that's watching you has to do 50 burpees. And now her anxiety goes way up. And now what we're doing is we're bringing anxiety in the moment, stakes and pressure to training. Well, if you do that enough, you dull it, you numb it. Like exposure does that to everything. The more exposure you get to anything, the less it's going to sting. Yep. So you get used to it. You get used to dealing with this. And then what you do is you go through all like the game day stuff.
Yep.
Here's how you bring it down. So you're going to do whatever you want. And, I'm trying to say tactic, but like the visualization, you're going to breathe. You're going to go through your routine. You're going to follow your whatever it is to bring the anxiety levels back down. You bring those practices into training, and you bring those practices into game day, so they feel the same. There's not this huge discrepancy between the two. The reason people feel pressure is because it's different, and there's stakes, and let's have that be a little more common. Now, you can't go so far that you burn the person out.
Right.
There takes a level of art and science. This whole thing, you got to dose it appropriately. But that's the way to bring up game day anxiety and game day, how to deal with game day pressure.
Where does other competitors fit into that as it relates to trainer?
For sure.
Training?
You bring that in as well. So like you bring the friends and you bring in other top competitors. That's another great tool or tactic to do that as well. So if Katrina's having trouble with game day stuff, but she's awesome in training, okay, let's bring in Brooke, let's bring in Cole, let's bring in Fraser, and let's have these people compete. And it's one of the reasons we do that before the games. It's one of the reasons we do that when we used to do regionals. We used to bring in these competitors to go in that environment. So they're used to being behind. In everyday training session, they're either training by themselves or they're training with people that they destroy all the time. These are the fittest athletes in the world. Well, what happens to your psyche when you're used to being, 3 minutes ahead in a race, 10 minutes into it, when all of a sudden now you're down by 30 seconds. Like, holy crap, like maybe I'm not that. You start questioning things. You start to fall apart. You need to raise the stakes in training.
The one other thing about this question that stuck out to me is I wonder, and maybe you've already answered it, but I wonder if you think, could it be something other than confidence? Because confidence is that's kind of an easy thing to point to and say, if you just had more confidence, you would be better on game day. But is there, in your experience, confidence, I don't know if that's a very, I don't know how tangible you can make that. And I wonder if there's just something else there that if you looked at it differently, you'd be able to put a plan in place to say, okay, let's actually tackle that thing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of top performers, they have plenty of confidence.
No, I disagree.
Oh, okay.
They do not have, because we haven't defined it. What is confidence? Some of what confidence is. And if you can't tell me what it is, then you're just talking about it in this arbitrary sense. Are they confident or are they not? I don't really know. They seem confident. Man, they're they got.
Or maybe I'm just projecting to you that if I was as good as you, I'd be confident. So therefore, you must be.
So
confident.
What most people think confidence is, I believe I have the ability to win.
Yeah.
That's not confidence. That's arrogance. That's arrogance, and arrogance gets shattered like that.
Yeah.
Like the second you fall behind, it's gone. Well, that's because it's not confidence, it's arrogance. And arrogance is fleeting, it's not real, and it's hurtful. Confidence is super powerful. What confidence is, all you have to do is redefine this for your athletes. What confidence is the knowledge that I know I can give my best effort regardless of circumstances. Period. That's what being super confident is. Now, if you're going to go into the Navy SEALs, one of the most hell week, the most challenging things ever. Do you know you're gonna make it through that? Yeah. Nobody does. Are you confident? Well, you could be confident if you said it's not a matter of what I make it through, but that I'm going to give my best effort regardless of what they throw at me. Totally within your control. Yep. So it gets even colder one day. They make you spend even more time in the water. They make you stay, even have less sleep. Okay, I can still bring my best. Yes, I'm not going to win. I'm not going to beat the other boat crew. I might not be the fastest guy on my boat crew, but that doesn't mean I still can't be confident. And if you redefine confident in terms of the tangible aspects that you have control over, that's when it shifts.
Got it. Love that. Okay, we're going to move on to the next question. I've recently developed anxiety, which, among other things, flares up pre-workout. It's really hindering my performance. It's taken the enjoyment away from training. Logically, I know how I feel should be within my control, and I beat myself up for feeling this. How can I get back to my killer instinct mindset without falling to pieces?
Okay, so this is where the first one was a game day anxiety. This is practice day anxiety.
Yeah. Yep.
So this person feels it every single day. They've lost the enjoyment. I'm kind of beating myself up because I feel what's the deal? I know I shouldn't be feeling like this. What's happening is this person is kind of doing the opposite of the first person. They're putting too much stakes on training. They're putting too much stakes into their practice. What they need to realize is there's a very, very different approach and a very different results that come from training, practicing, and competing. Those are three very separate things. What most people in our sport do is they go to the gym every day and they compete. And people are like, well, no, I didn't sign up for anything. If you're trying to beat the people next to you, you're competing. That's what it is. That's a competition. If I go up the leaderboard, you go down, and that matters to me. Definition, competition. Training, there is no scoreboard in training. In fact, the coach will stop practice in the middle and readjust people, and we don't keep score, and it's all about getting better. That's what training is about. Very few people are actually doing that. Practice is even a step below that, where it's half speed. Now we're in helmets and shoulder pads. We're doing a walkthrough. We're actually looking at the playbook. We're actually studying. It's 50% speed in our world in CrossFit. It's 50% loads or lighter. It's very thoughtful. It's very slow. There's no heart rate. There's no muscle strain. Almost no one is doing that. Beyond the warm-up, very few people are doing that. What I would suggest to this athlete is try to, not on pen and paper, but just conceptualize. How much time are you spending competing, worrying about your results compared to other people? And by the way, that's you compared to your past self. So if you're competing against where you were last year or where you think you should be right now, that's competition. Or are you in training mode, which is like, I'm focused on improving right now in the moment. Training, moderate threshold type weights. And if it gets too hard or too sticky, I slow down to make sure I'm moving well. How much time am I spending practicing? Probably not a lot. What I would do for this athlete, keeping it super tactical, is I would stop doing the prescribed workouts that are assigned in the gym. I would alter every single workout ever so slightly so you can't compete with somebody else or your former self. If the workout comes up that it's Fran, okay, you're not going to do Fran that day because you have too much anxiety. You have to step away from this. This won't be forever, but you have to reprogram your brain into I'm here to get better. You're going to do Fran today. You'll still do 21, 15, 9 thrusters, 95 pounds, but your pull-ups now are toes to bar. Or strict pull-ups with 15, 12, 6. We're going to change it up a little bit. You still get to be with the class. You still get to participate with them. You still get to the exact desired stimulus, not exact, very close to the desired stimulus, but there's no temptation to like pass, fail, win, lose. They're better than me. Anxiety, frustration. I'm beating myself because I'm not there. You need to make sure you're in training mode. And the tactical way to do that is don't do what they're doing. Keep it really close, but just alter it ever so slightly. And I promise you, your anxiety will go down. If it doesn't, it's a bigger issue that has to do with like the gym is messing up your head. In that case, I would suggest getting out of the gym and start doing something else. Go for trail runs and start lifting sandbags in the backyard.
When it comes to training, I think I can see how it happens in practice. But when it comes to training, how do you make sure that the athlete stays within the training mentality and mindset? Do you literally say, we're going to go at this pace and we're not going to go more? Like, how do you? So I guess because it's fuzzy to me because I can see competing, I can see practicing, but but the
Rich Froning figured this out before everybody else, and Rich Froning invented the EMOM. Definition training. There's no score. You are going to do 3 muscle ups this minute, and you're going to do 3 heavy power cleans the next minute. And what he's doing is he's putting in the rest to lower the super high intensity, so he can train to get better.
Got it.
Then like everyone takes EMOM things every minute on the minute. You do this amount of work as just like commonplace. He's a pretty smart dude. He figured that out way back. So EMOMs is one easy strategy to make sure you're not competing, you're training.
Got it. Last thing about this question that stuck out to me is this notion of a killer instinct or killer instinct mindset. Just curious if you have any thoughts or any reaction to that. That feels to me like a very high bar to hit and one that is potentially part of the problem. To hit that or to have that or feel like you've done that every day is kind of setting yourselves up to feel like. So what I'm guessing is
his killer instinct is being blunted because he's very results oriented. And if he's doing well, man, I'm killing it. I'm like aggressive, and now I have confidence, like we talked about before. What I would suggest this athlete does is redefine success. It may not redefine, define success in measurable terms. Define success in controllable, something you can control. Success cannot be, I'm going to qualify for Wodapalooza. I'm going to finish top 10 at the games. I'm going to open up and start $1 million business. I'm going to get promoted. Success has to be something that you ultimately control, and it's okay if it's not measurable. It's okay if it's kind of loose. It's got to be something like what I said confidence is, right? Regardless of the situation ahead of me, I know I'm going to give my very best effort. And then from there, like, put yourselves in situations where you can start to give your very best effort. When people start coming back from injury, this is essentially an injury. It's an injury of the mental aspect. I pull people away from competition because it's just going to set them up for failure. And then I put them in, I have people do their wheelhouse workouts. What's the best, like what's going to give you confidence? What are you going to enjoy doing? You want killer instinct. Like when Katrin's coming back from something, okay, it's hang power cleans, assault bike, and push jerks. Like, let's go. Like you're going to crush half the guys at the games in that workout, you know? So, like set yourself up for success by giving yourself success.
Love that. All right. So the last question or questions, because there are two that I like that are similar. So I'll kind of give a quick take on both of them. First one is, I've broken my ankle twice, once from jumping, and now I'm terrified of box jumps. The second one is, I struggle with getting fearful and anxious around certain weights when I'm Olympic lifting, particularly snatches. So both of them are maybe movement specific or something like that. So curious how you would, in my mind, both of these folks maybe are in a class. So I'm curious how you would help them start to either get over it or get around it, or how you begin.
Sure. Let's put it really specific and tactful. She's trying to jump onto a 20-inch box. He's trying to snatch 185 pounds. Sure. Okay. So it's the same deal regardless. Is you need to take incremental steps, measuring your success, make sure that we are training and getting better and practicing, getting better, not just jumping your full into competition. There's this way we get better at things. One is comfort, which is, I should say, there's three different approaches to trying to improve something. One is by staying in your comfort zone. So let's say the guy that can snatch 185 pounds, he's probably fairly comfortable snatching 155, 165, there's probably a couple misses. 175, we're probably below 50%. And then he throws 185 on and just like freezes. Can't even like pull it above his waist. In that situation, if he pounds away with 185, he's not going to make any gains, right? Well, that's because he's in the struggle zone. It's like, it's too much. It's not going to help you. You're in panic zone. The opposite of that is you're in comfort zone. Him trying to improve his snatch with 95 pounds, essentially 50%, is probably not going to help a ton. But if he finds the learning zone, which is at your threshold, that's where the magic happens. And for this athlete, it's probably around 155, 165 pounds, somewhere in there. So what we need to do first and foremost is get the athlete to spend a lot of time there. Now let's take that for the box jump person. Okay. They stare at a 20-inch box and they can't even get their feet to leave the ground because they're so freaked out. But jumping on a 10-pound plate, like, is not doing anything for them. So what you do is find where's that threshold. And maybe for that athlete, it's a 12-inch box. It's stacked up a few, 3 45-pound plates. And we're going to spend some time there. Now, from there, once you build up that kind of repertoire, once you build up that kind of arsenal underneath you, then what we want to do is, once you feel really comfortable there, is let's even do something like what I'm saying is we'll spend time in workouts at that. So we're not going to have the girl that can't jump on the box in a workout try to jump on a 20-inch box. That makes no sense. What we also don't want to do is have her jump on a 10-pound plate. What we want to do is get her to jump on something that is she has to think about, but she's not stuttering. She's not doing. So find it. Is it 10? Is it 12 inches? Whatever that is. And that's where she's going to spend the bulk of her time. Similar, if this guy's building up to heavies, let's build up to 155 to 165s. We're rarely going to go to 175, and we're not going to touch 185. And then what we want to do there is build up a lot. So whether that's like, we're going to do a bunch of workouts here, or we're going to do it for Olympic lifting. A great way to do this is EMOM 20 at 155. Now, all of a sudden, if he's done 20 reps at 155, like, dude, if you can do that, you own it. It's yours. You own it. And then what we'll do is we'll controlled environment, not in a Metcon or anything else. We'll just very slowly bump it up. Okay, you got 20 reps at 155. That means you can probably very simply do 12 reps at 160, which means you probably do 7 reps at 165, and so on. And we're gonna go up until you can get to 175. Then what I would do is build up that same thing, that stamina at 175. So you feel you have that big repertoire, and you have all this confidence. I've gotten 10 in a row at 175. Yep. Let's see where 185 is. You might have a little more confidence. Another little trick to it is once you get to that person you're lifting with them in a lifting session, have them lift with kilos.
So or they don't know.
They don't know.
Yeah.
Exactly. They don't know, or lift with a bunch of 10s and 15s and throw some 2.5s in the middle and 5s. And they literally don't know. And have them truly go off of feel. You'd be shocked at what happens with the mental barrier that we put up this person that can't jump on the box. So what you do for that athlete is not just have them jump on a 20-inch box, because it's the plates. They're like, I got it, the plates, I got it. Some people, if you stack up plates, you can stack them up all the way to 21 inches. They can jump on that, but they can't jump on a box. So what you do in that scenario is you have them jump on a box all the time, but you make the box smaller by having them start on plates. So if they're starting on plates, say they start on 145, so stack up 3 45-pound plates in front of a 20-inch box. Now they're only jumping 8 inches. Okay, let's replace one of those for a 25. Now they're jumping 10 inches. Now they're on 2 25s, and they're jumping, and you're just lowering the plates. They're jumping higher, but the thing they're staring at never changes. It's always the same target. It's this little workaround, change the weights, don't let them know, and then make it consistent. Like you don't want the leap of jumping on plates to a box. Like, you gotta have that consistency across the board.
From a coaching perspective, are those all those things you just said? Would you attempt to do those in a class environment? Like, if you saw, okay, Susie's having trouble with the box here. Can I engage with her? Do you try? Okay.
Yes.
And it's not something like, okay, I've got to
now
let her do double unders or whatever. And
what
then I'll
we do in
later.
our classes is we do dry runs. We do mock runs of the workout. So if we're going to do a workout, let's make it really, we're going to do snatches and box jumps. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to do snatches and box jumps. And the workout is, let's call it, we rarely do this, but let's say it is a single snatch at 185 for this person, just for the sake of the story. And it's going to be 5 box jumps at 20 inches for the girls. What we're going to do is a dry run. We're going to do a practice round, and we'll have athletes start off with okay, let's get 2 jumps away from what you think your working weight is. Something light. We're going to take 2 jumps together, and we're watching the class snatch. And if one looks sticky, we walk up to that athlete and we're like, hey, maybe we stay at this weight, or maybe we can lower it from here. Everyone looks good. Cool. Let's take that next jump out. Somebody hesitates to jump on the box, and all of a sudden we're like, okay, let's try jumping on 2 plates, or let's stack up 2 plates in front of the box. And then what we want to do is in the workout, work at their just get all the reps in. You're trying to get in all the reps at that threshold, which we talked about, maybe like the 12-inch box and the 155. And then outside of class, we're going to work them up to that, to pass that threshold. That's the mental block. That's not going to happen in class. Not a control enough environment.
Last question, just as it relates to thinking about all 3 or all 4 of these questions. You very intentionally gave a lot of tactical advice of here's what you would do if that, but how would you, if this was an athlete in a class or you were their coach, how would you more kind of globally talk to them or work with them on on the notion of where this anxiety is coming from, where, what is actually the sticking point here? Would you, or would you only focus on, I'm just going to work on actions because actions are ultimately going to get them past this or whatever?
Yeah, it depends on the athlete. It depends on the athlete in a bunch of different ways. It'd be like, what is if they want to compete, I'm certainly going to talk about this. If they're here for the best hour of their day, probably not.
Okay.
A lot of people come for the best hour of the day, but they really want to be able to jump on a 20-inch box. That matters a lot to them. In that case, I'm probably not going down the road of performance anxiety, where fear stems from, how to deal with pressure, mental toughness.
Okay.
I'm just gonna do it tactically.
Got it.
And just get them past it. And like, oh, I can do that.
Yep.
But on the flip side, if this is somebody that wants to compete at a high level, we mandatory have to have that conversation.
Yeah, you can't tactic your way through.
Right.
Yeah,
They're gonna run into something else.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks to everybody who sends us questions. Thank you, Ben. We will see everybody next week.
Thank you.
You can get every episode of Chasing Excellence wherever you listen to your podcasts or on YouTube. Until next time, thank you for listening.